Let's start with special. This is a special moment because a special moment in a cycle that's been going on for many, many years. And the specialness is that Camp Treetops is over. It's being put to bed, so to speak. Friends Weekend is over. We've had hundreds of people who have been connected with this place way back as far as the 30s, come back and reconnect again. The fiscal year is over. It happened at midnight last night. We're at the start of a new school year, start of a new fiscal year, we're start of a new camp admission cycle, the start of a new school admission cycle. We're going to be entering the most critically important time of our harvest, and pretty soon we'll be welcoming new children from around the world. So it's kind of a special moment where all the different parts of the institution kind of come together in an interconnected way. But we're also a special place. And the reason we know we're a special place is because alumni of camp and school tell you all that. And I know that they tell you that. We also know that we're a special place because we know, because they send them to us sometimes, we know that campers and students write about us. They write in their own personal diaries and journals. They know that sometimes somebody writes about it in a book even. But probably most frequently, when they're applying to college or graduate school, they write about this place. And they write about you, and they write about the experiences that they've had here. So that's another way that they've told us that this is a special place. There are other reasons why we know this is a special place. We know this is a special place because people use this place to mark very special times in their lives. So if you just look at Friends Weekends, what does that mean? That means people bring their newborn babies back here. Why do they do that? That's not necessarily an easy thing to do if you live in Washington, D.C. and you have a tiny little one. But you do it because this is a special place to you and you want it to be a special place for your child, even if the child is tiny and has no idea where he or she is. All right? You use it to mark an occasion. On the other end, people pass away, and they use this place as a way to mark occasions. So on Friends Weekend, we had two memorials. Gail Schumacher, Jeff Jonathan. People traveled hundreds of miles to come back here, not only to be here, but to mark something that was very special, a life of great meaning. I can tell you that sometime around noon, some of the Marshallton clan will be here, and they'll also be marking an occasion. And so they will head somewhere off into the woods and spread Tracy Marshallton's ashes. Right? And so we know this is a special place. We also know this is a special place because outsiders and strangers actually tell us this is a special place. And so I'll, like I did at Friends Weekend, I'm going to just read you first paragraph, first page. Nice Ace report, okay, written for schools, 10-year accreditation, but as I told everybody up at the Rickey Circle, it's obviously about this place, it's obviously about the larger institution, it's obviously something that is about camp as well as school. So, paragraph 1. Driving onto the campus of North Country School is like taking a long, deep breath of fresh air. Surrounded by majestic Adirondack mountains and many happy faces and warm smiles, the school is grounded in the core values, school and camp I would say, it's grounded in the core values of essential work and place-based education that foster confidence, personal development, and a healthy respect for the environment, all of which are reflected in the everyday life of this community. So, those are some people who had never been on the campus before. They spent 4 days here, and that was the very first thing they chose to comment on. Clearly, a special place. We're a special place, and we've been doing special work with children for almost a century now. And I would say that the work that we do is as important today, maybe even more important today, than it was almost a century ago. And for those of you that have ever had the chance, and if you haven't, you should, go find a copy of Summer's Children. And Helen Haskell talks about many things, but one of the things that she talks about is that camp gives back to children things that they lost when the world, and the world that she was talking about was mostly America, actually mostly mid-Atlantic seaboard. But her point is that in the demographic shifts that were happening when Treetops was founded, the major demographic shift was the move from the rural to the urban place of living and growing up. And Helen spent time in her essay talking about camp is the place that gives back to those children what they've lost. Because surely they've gained some things when they made their move to the city, but just as surely they lost some things. And that's what they got at camp. And I would say, and having just come from an intensely urban place and an intensely urban experience, Beijing, 20 million. Shanghai, 18 million. Probably 30 other cities of over 3 million. So we're talking about an intensely urban place in China. I would say that what Helen was talking about is much more true today than it was in her day, which is there are many, many, many more children in this country as well as the world that need to be given back something that they've lost by the urbanization of their life. And so it's an important work that we've done for almost a century. And I would argue that, and I have no way of knowing this, but I'm not sure that the founders ever envisioned that the work would be so global and have such special meaning to people who have such different experiences in life and such different worldviews. Because as in Helen's day, when she went into people's houses and showed slides, Karen still does that, all right? Helen mostly did it in the greater Manhattan area, but nowadays we walk into people's houses and in DC, in Seattle, in San Francisco, but also Mexico, Guatemala, cities in China, and Thailand. So our reach, while the size of our institution in terms of the numbers of students that we and campers that we work with has not really grown, the actual reach is magnified an amazing amount because we're a truly global community nowadays. So I want to thank you in advance for all the work, the critically important work that you're doing with these kids, camp and school, from around the world, work that's going to be transformative for them, work that they're going to remember for the rest of their life, and work that I think, as Helen said, gives back to them something that they've lost. So thank you. All right.